Hey Joe, here we are. It's the last deep dive of November. And next week is Thanksgiving, so that's going to be awesome. Looking forward to that. And so thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, thank you to all of you for being part of our family.
Very cool. So Joe, I want to ask you about the topic that we've identified for the day today. The emails that had been sent out over your name. I mean, there were some really we're talking about hiring, and that whole realm seems to have evolved in the last couple of years, really, with the advent of all these AI agents and more relying on things like Indeed and LinkedIn and Glassdoor as the place you got to go if you're going to need to hire somebody. How different is that today than what you saw when you were in the Fortune 50 company and or in your early days of being a business mentor?
Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So back in the old days, you'd get a pile of 200 resumes and you'd start paging through them. Today we have this same issue. You get a bunch of candidates that are a lot of them are fake now. There's AI, there's all kinds of noise going on.
Hmm.
So the real challenge that back then and now is getting rid of the noise as effectively and efficiently as you can to get
Hmm.
to the tone or really what you need to look at to do the proper evaluation to get to the candidates on your short list to do the real interview.
Got it.
And the faster you can get to that core team that you're looking at, the better off as a company you are.
Makes sense. Which takes us into what we wanted to talk about today, which is the hiring boondoggle, as we refer to it as, because
Yeah.
right now there's so much going on that is that appears on the surface to be relevant, but is not necessarily what's going on because there is this dichotomy between what employers these days are looking for and what the job seekers that are actively seeking are looking for, right? I mean,
Yes.
so did I share my
Well,
screen? I didn't share my
yeah.
screen, did I?
No, you have not, sir.
Well, I can do that. And I just realized that. And that's the thing that we're looking at here. What's this
Yes.
So how would you articulate this distinction? And is it any different today than it was 10 or 15 years ago?
Well, I think it's different but the same. I mean, as you go through the generational changes, you got Gen X and Gen Z. You had the hippies. I mean, you have the similar problems with different terminology.
Mm,
Um, but the issue is the employers want a good long-term employee,
right,
and the employees actually want a good career path. And does it change? Do they want more personal time? Yeah, but didn't we always?
right,
Has the world changed in regards to the commitment that employers typically make to their long-term employees? I think it's shifted, but it's still there. Most business owners, most companies want to find good or great long-term employees, and they want to keep them. And
right,
and employees want to have stability and long-term growth. And
right.
when we can find those come together, it's just the same as it was before.
So how does, if at all, how does the remote work structure have an impact on what you just talked about?
Well, it changes a lot. It changes how you manage people, or how you put processes together, how you put metrics together. But we've had remote employees from back in the 80s and 90s. It was just in a slightly different and didn't have the swing that it has now.
Got it.
So Has it changed? Yes, but has it stayed the same? I think it's stayed the same more than it has
More
changed.
than it has changed. Okay, well, good. Okay, well, let's get back into this. So we've got this and what the people are looking for. And so this is the
You know what? Now that you're saying that, you know what I think has changed though.
what?
Well, so with the implementation of job boards and other things, people have gotten, I'm going to say lazy.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, because let's say you're on unemployment, and I saw this, and I still see it today. To go apply for a job, all you have to do is click a button.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Where in the old days, you had to actually submit a resume and actually maybe go down to a facility and fill out a job application.
Right.
So you actually had to put effort into it. So some of the noise that we're seeing are people that may actually not want a job, and I've seen this. They just need to apply to a job to get their unemployment
Unemployment
check.
benefits.
And
Got
we
it.
see some of that. And then there's also data mining for the people that are out there. So it has created more noise than we have had in the past.
Gotcha. I like the way you positioned that's created more noise. And here are a couple of pieces of information that we've identified. And this was an interesting one to me that it takes 10 to 25 hours of HR and managerial time to hire someone because you
One
have to
person,
filter resumes, do
yeah.
outreach, and do the interviews and stuff.
And those numbers I think are a little low. In the old days, it used to be up to 40 hours to
Yeah.
hire somebody.
And it may have cut down a little bit only because you don't have to wait for the resumes to come in. They're instantaneously. But how does this extensive use of the job boards like Indeed and LinkedIn and Glassdoor, has that changed the landscape to any great degree, or has it always been, because there's always been like companies that were like, headhunters or whatever that were providing information.
And it made it much easier for a while, but then it started getting abused or manipulated into where it's at now, where it's still a tool and it should still be utilized. It just needs to be utilized differently and a much stronger screening process in place.
In other words, you need to know how to use the tool and not just abdicate to responsibility to our friends at AI.
Yeah, you can't go push the button. Okay, we're going to get a bunch of great candidates in for the interview. It doesn't work that way. We still need
Doesn't
to go
work
through the
that way.
filtering. We need to go through the filtering process.
Yes. And this is another one that seems to be happening because, and this is especially true, I've seen over the last, geez, well, many, many
40
years
years,
where
40
technical
years.
skills are really a key thing in because all this, in education, it's STEM, right?
Yep.
You can push on that. And therefore, you're looking for a lot of companies are looking for people who have graduated from schools where they got their technological degrees, whether it's programming or robotics now or aerodynamics or all this sort of stuff. So it became like, oh, these technical skills are the key thing that I need to identify in order for me to have an employee that's going to be the right person in my company.
Um, so Dave, you know me, I've got to refer to a book, and it's better to have a healthy team than a smart team.
Yeah.
And and this is so many companies hire for, especially in Silicon Valley, hire for the technical aspects. Now you need the technical aspects, but they can be learned and they can be
Mhm.
evolved and they can get better. But the soft skills and the culture of the company will change if you're not careful about the soft skills that you're hiring for.
You know, I like when you say the culture because one of the things that we've talked about before is that if you don't define your culture, it will get defined for you and you may not like what you see.
No, you will not like it. I guarantee if you don't define it, you will evolve the one and you won't like it. The other thing there is you hire and fire based on culture.
Hire and fire based on culture, which is not what a lot of people do. A lot of business owners do. They hire and fire based on technical expertise. Or if they hire on technical expertise and they fire on frustration.
Yes, yes, yes. And you know, you get the whole five dysfunctions of a team, and you don't have that teamwork. Teamwork is the only place where math doesn't work, where one plus one can equal five.
Gotcha. All right. So let's go back into what this other one is. 20, oh, yeah. This was an interesting one. The standard way that people have done things, and you had indicated this, and but this is a true statistic. That 20, you have 20% probability of a long-term employee. If a company is looking for long-term personnel, then this creates a challenge. And it makes sense that you want a you want long-term people because you've got this historical knowledge of the evolution of the company, what the company stands for, but also what you've done in the past. And, you know, if you got a new direction, how that fits into things that you've done before. So while it's important to have new perspectives, having a historical perspective in the company can be vital.
Yes, absolutely understanding where you came from to understand where you're going. Now, another real cool one that stat that we should have that I should have recommended we pull is it typically costs a company 6 months' salary by hiring the wrong person.
Explain that.
Okay, so you hire the wrong person. Well, it usually takes 30, 60, 90 days to actually terminate them
Oh,
and
right.
all the costs associated with that. And then you have to start the hiring process again.
Gotcha.
So it's typically 6 months of that kind of job offer salary that is at risk every time you make a bad hire.
And not only that, like I can see that, but I also see that in that initial learning curve, you've got someone that's whose productivity is not going to be as good, so your cost of performance and
Perfect.
activity increase.
And you put
And then
the
when you reach that point where you realize this isn't going to work, now they're not going to the improvement isn't going to be there. There's this conflict, and so you're not getting good productivity there. So it impacts the company's ability to perform and deliver for its customers.
well, and it spreads not just to that employee, but the HR, legal, everything is, and that whole group's dynamic changes for 6, 8 months while they're going through that. So it's not a stable environment
And
for
if it's a
anybody.
revolving door because you find after 6 months or 3 or 4 months you got to let somebody go and you got to bring somebody new in and you're not doing it the right way. It's a revolving door, so you're constantly spending more than you need to,
And you're not making progress.
and you're not making progress. Okay, well let's dive back into
So,
this
so, so
because
I'm going to read. Hiring is one of the most important decisions you make as a business leader.
got it. So let's talk about the brain share process and doing things the way we teach. It says here that you can reduce that whatever it was, 10 to 20 or 40, whatever it used to be, down to maybe 5 hours of HR and management time to hire. That's a huge differential.
Well, and that tied with an 80% probability of getting the right employee, it's a
Right.
it's a no brainer for your
It,
brain share.
you would think so. And this is the other one, the focus on the soft skills and culture fit, because as you said earlier, technical skills can be enhanced, they can be taught. Okay, if you've got someone that has the the interest to learn and has the ability to absorb the whatever the technical information is of that particular direction, then if their soft skills and their cultural fit is good, you've got a winner.
Yep, because you can, if somebody wants to learn, nobody can stop them. If they're not willing to learn, nobody can help them.
Nobody. Exactly. All right. So where does that leave us as far as the four-step process that we have? Talk to us about these four items.
Okay, so a lot of times people say, "Well, I want just the 10 good candidates." We want a bigger pool. The bigger the net, the better the fish that we want to pick out.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to get a large pool of candidates, but we want to filter rather quickly.
A
Okay,
large pool, and then you filter. Okay.
Yeah.
So the
So
filtration
once
is this screening early, lightly, and consistently?
exactly. And so with in the past, I've typically done a phone screening. When I say a phone screening, I mean a voicemail or a video call because I can listen to a voicemail and tell whether I want to typically bring that person rather than looking at resumes first. Because resumes are words, which
Mm-hmm.
is what 7% of communication.
Got it.
Tonality is 38 and nonverbals are 55. So by doing at least a phone call or a video, a video or a voice recording, you're getting 45%, and a video recording process will give you closer to 90% communication.
So is that just you want someone to call in and say, "Hi, yeah, I'm interested in this job, and my name is John Jones, and here's my phone number, and call me."
And here's why I'm the best person for that job.
So what you're telling me is that there is something that the business owner needs to put in their outreach that identifies how they want or what they want the respondee to do with respect to that voice or video.
Yeah, when they call, let's say it's the voicemail aspect, when they call that number, they say, yeah, hi, here's what the job is. And I mean, everyone knows what most jobs are. A bookkeeper, you know what they do. So many people spend so much time on what all the roles and responsibilities and of a job is. 90% everybody knows that. It's the culture that we need to put the focus on. So and are they, decision making? What are the attributes you're looking for?
So
Because
how do you present those concepts to the person that you're asking to do a video or a voice thing for?
so you identify and you articulate the attributes that you're looking for. You can't have 100 of them. It's
So how
still
do
a
you
decision.
where is
Well,
this?
that's in our training, Dave.
No, but I mean
Yeah.
not what the attributes are, but where do you put that information?
Into your
if you want
into
someone to do that, how do you let them know?
Well, it's in the advert that you put out. It's in the
Oh,
advertisement. So you say bookkeeping. If you are committed to results, uh, 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 detail oriented, um, uh, fantastic decision making, and leadership skills if you're looking for a leader. There's a list of attributes that we actually say recommend looking at and saying for this specific job, these are the attributes I want, and you put that in the job for it. If you're looking for a leader, you want leadership skills, teamwork skills. So there's certain attributes
o-
that you look for a specific role or the role that's going to grow into.
okay. So you put that in your ad that then helps people self-select to say, "Oh yeah, these are qualities that I have." But then when you don't you want them to do something or
And then,
present
and then,
something within the
and then they call this number and you actually just keep it really simple. Why are you the best person for the job? And give them 2 minutes to tell you. You'll be able to hear from that whether they align with most of your company culture because you can tell more from tonality than anything else.
So that
So
instruction is when they call the number and it says, "Hi, this is XYZ company. Thank you for calling us. Please leave us a voicemail with this information." Is
it
that
goes
what you?
on. It's like, hi, thanks for calling BrainShare Business Mentors. We're looking for a salesperson. If you are outgoing, committed to results, process oriented, and outgoing people person, call this number and tell us. And then when they call that, that's the advert. When they call
Right.
the number, hi, welcome to Brain Share. We're looking for this person. We have this kind of benefit package, this, and this. If you are interested in this position, take up to 2 minutes to tell us why you're the best person for that position. Upon that, we'll ask for your resume if you qualify. And then they leave a voicemail. You screen the voicemails. And if you like one, then you look at the resume.
So I think what you just said there, as far as the instruction set that you're leaving on the voicemail or for the video call, tell us
Yes,
why you're the best person for this position. So
that's it.
that's got to get them, the person, the intended employee, to be thinking about how do I represent myself in a manner that's going to answer the question.
Well, and back when I was, looking for opportunities, I would go look at that company, look at what their culture is, look at what their vision is, and actually see if I align with that company. That as an employee, you should be interviewing the company just as much as they're interviewing you. It's a
Okay.
symbiotic relationship.
Got it. Okay, so let's assume we're the business owner and the employee, the potential employee may or may not have done that kind of level of due diligence that you were talking about to investigate their company. So what you're telling me is that um, providing that instruction set on the voice message, or if you're going to leave a video, here's what we want, gives you as the owner or the HR manager information that you can hear and see that is beyond just the technical data that's in a resume.
Correct. And see if their culture, their fit, their attributes align enough to invest in even looking at the resume.
So how hard is it to put this kind of a structure together?
It takes about an hour, Dave.
Takes about an hour. So that sounds like it's pretty easy.
Whether you're using a video recording platform or a voicemail platform, putting the adverts out, it's repeatable too.
Okay. The other thing that you mentioned in here, the other items 3 and 4 about our 4-step process is to validate technical skills and expertise, and then the group interview. When you say validate technical skills and expertise, what do we mean by that?
So after you do the alignment of the soft skills, the culture skills, then you look at the resume and see, do they have the technical background that fits what I'm looking for? And then you can bring them in, 5 or 10 of them in for a group interview.
Why
Now,
do a group interview? Why not just talk to them one on one?
well, first of all, if you're only talking to one person, who's the best candidate? That one person, because that's the only one you're talking to.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. But if you've got 5 people there, now you can see how they interact, how they work, how they do things in a group environment.
hmm
And it's based on their own personal past history. So it's behavioral interviewing. Past performance predicts future performance. So you can't copy off of somebody. You can't steal somebody else's answers. And it
Mm.
shows a lot. And if you have, let's say, 8 people, you spend a half an hour interviewing each one of them. How much time is that, Dave?
Yeah, that's like 4 hours.
4 hours.
Right.
Now, if you bring everybody in there and do it all in 1 hour, which is a better use of your time,
Got it.
and you get better data, and you can do an actual comparison of who is the best candidate versus if you're only talking to one person by definition, and it minimizes the potential of asking different questions to different people.
Different people,
So,
right? But the other thing, and I think we've talked about this tangentially, but one of the things it seems to me is that this group structure allows you to visually and auditorially see how their soft skills come to play. Are they, do they interact well with other people? Do they, not pay attention? Are they, so you can kind of get a feel for, are they going to fit in with my team? Because they're not necessarily interacting with everybody else in the company, but you're going to get a feel for whether or not they're going to be able to interact and integrate well with my team based on how they're behaving in that group environment.
exactly. And you can identify their disc, their vac. You can identify a lot about their personality in that environment.
Very
Now,
cool.
is it going to give you everything? No. But in half an hour, I can tell a whole lot about somebody, about where they've been, where they're at, where they want to go.
Very, very cool. Okay, so where does this take us? This takes us to the fact that this type of information is in the personnel playbook. It's part of the training that we offer on brainshare.us, and for all of our Success Circle members, of course, they have access to this. But the key thing here is you may have already gone through this course, but this stuff is an evolving process. Even though, like you said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. You need to revisit this because there are nuances in today's environment that make it ideal for you to make sure you understand the fundamentals and you're implementing the fundamentals that are identified here so that in today's advanced technological ways of communication, you're in a position to make sure that you can do the thing right. So that's cool. Um, the other thing that you already mentioned, one book that you pulled out, The Advantage, which I thought was really cool. And one of the things that we talk about a lot in these deep dives is the fact that there is just a treasure trove of information from uh, publishers, from skilled individuals who have taken the time and effort to put their perspective into writing and create a book that can help you. But there's the other side of that of how do you take that information and implement it in the real world and integrate it even with because there might be a pearl of wisdom in one that isn't in another one, that if you put them together, you end up with a completely, enhanced environment. And that's where BrainShare comes into play.
That's right. You could. I remember I told somebody, well, you can read all those books, or you can work with us. Which would you rather do? I'm not saying you shouldn't read those books because you're going to get something different every time you read them, and they're valuable resources. But we've incorporated many of those into our BrainShare business mentoring services.
So, Joe, when you get together with a client, do you find that the implementation of the four-step process is pretty much the same from company to company, or are there nuances that you have to
Oh,
really
there's
pay attention
nuances.
to?
There's roadblocks. My typical one is recruiters. If there's a recruiter on the hiring team, they fight me tooth and nail on the group interview, and they fight me on this because that's not the way they've done it. And I've hired thousands of. I mean, I've hired thousands of people. Oh, congratulations! You probably would have hired 4,000. You'd use this process.
Right.
But it works. Try it. Is it going to be clumsy the first couple times? Absolutely. Is it different? Absolutely. Is it give you much more time back in? Time's our most valuable asset, and give you a much better probability of getting a good long-term employee? Yes.
Yes, and I think that's the key thing, and that's what we need to end off on, is that it gives you back time, which also gives you back money,
Money.
and highly gives you a much highly more likely long-term employee that you can feel good about and be proud of.
I mean, there's as a leader, there's one of the most stressful things is terminating an employee,
Yeah,
and it's not fun. For most people, it's not fun. It's a stressor. It causes anxiety. It's an emotional thing to do. Let's
yeah.
minimize that by getting the right person in the first place.
Got it. Well, Joe, thank you very much for this deep dive, and I hope our clients are going to take all this to heart because as we move forward to 2026, which is just, month and a half away, it's going to be interesting, and there's a lot that people have to think about in terms of bringing on people as their company grows.
That is it. Dave,
Thank
always a
you.
privilege.
All right. Talk to you later, Joe.